Welcome to the Sunday morning worship service of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church in Naperville, Illinois. I am Diane K. Gelder, a member of your Board of Trustees. We are so glad you are here, whether you are present in the sanctuary this morning or watching remotely. It is so good to be together. We welcome you to our church and invite you to get to know us better after the service. To keep us all as safe as possible, we ask that you remain masked. Those of us on the chancel will remove our masks to speak from the microphone. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many paths to truth and meaning, and we support one another on our spiritual and religious journeys while holding ourselves in covenant. The rich liberal legacy of Unitarian Universalism is rooted in our faith's 7 principles. Those principles guide our faithful actions as we work to transform the world to be more just and equitable. You may find these principles listed on our website or on the wall in our social hall. Whoever you are, wherever you are in life's journey, wherever you are in the world, you are welcome here. I invite you to turn to someone you did not come with and greet them with a wave and a good morning greeting. Yay. And if you are online, we invite you to greet each other through the chat.
In this small flame dwell, the beacon light of lanterns guiding travelers home, the warmth of hearth fires tended through the generations, the transforming energy of furnaces and the power and life of our sun. May these blessings, warmth and light and life-giving energy, be kindled in each of us.
The Reverend Vanessa Southern writes, "So much undone, so much to do, so much to heal in us and in the world, so much to acquire, a meal, a healthy body, a fit one, a lover, a job, a better job. Proof we have and are enough, just around the corner of now. And up against it, the reality of all that falls short and the limits of today. We honor the limits. If your body won't do what it used to, for right now, let it be enough. If your mind won't stop racing or can't think of the word, let it be enough. If you are here, utterly alone and in despair, be all that here with us. If you cannot sing because your throat hurts or you don't have the heart for music, be silent. When the offering plate goes around, if you don't have money to give or the heart to give, let it pass. The world won't stop spinning on her axis if you don't rise to all occasions today. Love won't cease to flow in your direction. Your heart won't stop beating. All hope won't be lost. You are part of the plan for this world's salvation. Of that, I have no doubt. The world needs its oceans of people striving to be good, to carry us to the shores of hope and wash fear from the beachheads and cleanse all wounds so they can heal. But oceans are big, and I am sure there are parts that don't feel up to the task of the whole on some days. Rest, if you must, then, like the swimmer lying on her back who floats, or the hawk carried on cushions of air. Rest in pews made to hold weary lives in space carved out for the doing of nothing much but being. Perhaps then you will feel in your bones, in your weary heart, the aching, healing sense that this is enough, even this. We are enough. You are enough. Enough. Our service today embraces the liminal space between the ending of the old year and the beginning of the new, where we reflect on where we were and prepare for what lies ahead. When we look back, let us be kind to ourselves. In our preparation, let us remember our humanness and our need for self-compassion among all of our plans for excellence. Today, we will mourn our losses, release our burdens, and call in our passions, held together in love with this, our beloved community. And now I invite you to join me in reciting our church's covenant. We come together to affirm our relationship with one another, our shared commitment to our Unitarian Universalist principles, and to our DuPage UU Church community. We recognize our agency and our connective power, and we accept our responsibility to be bold and courageous in relationship with each other so that we might transform ourselves and the world.
And we will care for each other As the world around us unravels, and we will tend to the spark of hope that lives within our grieving hearts, and we are here now in this present moment, lifting our voices and hearts, and we are here now, we have come together, we are tending the spark of hope. Oh, may it grow, and we will care for each other as the world around us unravels, and we will tend to the spark of hope that lives within our grieving hearts, and we are here now in this present moment, lifting our voices and hearts, and we are here now, we have come together, we are tending the spark of hope. Oh, may it grow, and we will care for each other as the world around us unravels, and we will tend to the spark of hope that lives within our grieving hearts, and we are here now in this present moment, lifting our voices and hearts, and we are here now, we have come together, we are tending the spark of hope. Oh, may it grow.
Thank you for joining us. I actually didn't expect people to join in. It's extra wonderful. As we approach the ending of the year 2022, we wish to commemorate those who have passed away this year, to remember how their lives have touched ours, to feel compassion for how deep yet how fragile are our human bonds. Our ritual this morning will be to name those for remembrance by following the chiming of the singing bowl, to bring our thoughts again to those we will no longer see, but will remember. The first remembrance is for prominent people in our world. There are so many gone this year, and we have chosen a few. Spiritual leader Thich Nhat Hanh, Sesame Street actors Bob McGrath and Emilio Delgado, athlete Pele, Black feminist Dorothy Pittman Hughes, who raised her fist alongside Gloria Steinem, and politician Madeleine Albright, and many others. Blessed be these we hold in our heart memory. Our second remembrance is for those in our congregation who have passed away this year. Bettina Lynn Muley, Jean McCollum, Tom Groves, and Paloma, beloved service dog of Mason Ells. Blessed be these we hold in our heart memory. Our third remembrance is for your friends and family and people important to you. Please call out these names that we all might hear and know them. Blessed be these we hold in our heart memory. Our fourth remembrance is for the multitude of people unknown to us, but known in their human circumstance of dying in natural disasters, political upheavals, wars, individual acts of violence, and self-harm. Blessed be these we hold in our heart memory. And now please rise in body or in spirit and sing with us hymn number 1002, Comfort Me.
Comfort
from All About Love, New Visions by Bell Hooks. The only way to live that life where, as Edith Piaf sings, we regret nothing, is by awakening to an awareness of the value of right livelihood and right action. Understanding that death is always with us can serve as the faithful reminder that the time to do what we called to do is always now and not some distant and unimagined future. Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh teaches in Our Appointment with Life that we find our true selves by living fully in the present. To return to the present is to be in contact with life. Life can only be found in the present moment because the past no longer is, and the future has not yet come. Our appointment is right here, in this very place. Living in a culture that is always encouraging us to plan for the future, it is no easy task to develop the capacity to be here now. Accepting death with love means we embrace the reality of the unexpected, of experiences over which we have no control. Love empowers us to surrender. We do not need to have endless anxiety and worry about whether we will fulfill our goals or plans. Death is always there to remind us that our plans are transitory. By learning to love, we learn to accept change. Without change, we cannot grow. Our will to grow in spirit and truth is how we stand before life and death, ready to choose life.
To be human is to make mistakes. I don't know about you. During this season of introspection, at this time of contemplating change, we reflect on that which we did this past year, which we would rather not have done. And we reflect on that which we did not do, and we regret not doing so. We remember with compassion that we are imperfect beings, yet also beings capable of positive change. And now I invite you to rise in body and spirit and join me in our sung response, which is number 1037 in the Teal hymnal. Becky and Kelly and I will read the printed text, and then we will sing the response together. And the response goes like this. Selves and each other, we begin again in love. For remaining silent when a single voice would have made the difference. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For each time our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible,
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For each time we have struck out in anger without just cause.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our greed has blinded us to the needs of others, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
for selfishness that sets us apart and alone.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in
falling short of the admonitions of the Spirit. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For losing sight of our unity,
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For those and for so many acts, both evident and subtle, which has fueled the illusion of separateness.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
this religious community exists by its mission as a fire exists by burning. It is the giving of time, energy, imagination, vision, creativity, compassion, love, and financial support by the members and friends of this community that fuels our mission to nurture and sustain a welcoming, inclusive, and diverse liberal religious community that transforms lives and serves the world. Giving is also how we live our values in the world. Each month, we share our offerings with an organization nominated by the congregation and selected by the special offerings team. This month's organization is our congregation's own SMILE project. SMILE stands for Students, Mentors, Internships with Local Employers. The SMILE project is designed to provide mentoring and work experience to local high school students who could use encouragement and help to prepare for entering the workforce after high school. This morning's offering to support the work of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church and the SMILE project is given and received in a spirit of generosity and gratitude.
Sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. Yes, I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. You used to rock me in the cradle of your arms. You said you'd hold me till the pains of life were gone. You said you'd comfort me in times like these, and now I need you, and now I need you, and you are gone. Yes, I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. Since you've gone and left me, there's been so little beauty, but I know I saw it clearly in your eyes. Now the world outside is such a cold and bitter place. Here inside I have few things that will console. And when I try to hear your voice above the storms of life, then I remember that I was told. Yes, I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. Yes, I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. I think on the things that made me feel so wonderful when I was young. I think on the things that made me laugh, made me dance, made me sing. I think on the things that made me grow into a being full of pride. Think on these things, for they are true. And I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. I thought that you were gone, but now I know you're with me. You are the voice that whispers what I need to hear. I know a please, a thank you, and a smile will take me far. I know that I am you and you are me and we are one. I know that who I am is numbered in each grain of sand. I know that I've been blessed again and blessed again and again and again. Yes, I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. Yes, I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. Shake a, 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 shake a.
Communion is a coming together, a sharing of feelings and values. It is a reminder of the commitment we have towards each other and to this community. The church year here at DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church is encompassed by communions. We gather at the beginning of our church year and celebrate our ingathering with a water communion that reconnects us after a busy summer. At the end of the church year, we share in our flower communion, celebrating beauty, human uniqueness, diversity, and community. Today, we celebrate fire communion. This fire communion separates the end of the calendar year from the beginning, helping us to put into perspective the joys and sorrows, the changes and transitions, the ups and downs of the past year. It offers us another way to pass the experiences of this past year through the fire of contemplation. We can choose to let go of those unwanted feelings and experiences that influenced us during the year of 2022. Perhaps they were sadness, loss, change, anger, resentment. And then we can move toward the positive, joy, acceptance, transition, and contentment. You are invited to write down what you want to relinquish from this past year. Perhaps one word will sum up what you want to get rid of, or maybe you need to write more. When you've written a word or phrase, please come up to the table, take a moment, a deep breath, and let go of what you need to as you place the paper in the cauldron. After our service is complete, you are invited to accompany us when we take the cauldron outside and burn these resentments, grievances, angers, and loss. They will be removed from our lives, allowing us to move into the new year renewed, lightened, and free. If you need a pencil, please raise your hand and the ushers will bring you one. I now invite you to write down what you wish to release and then to come forward and let go of what you do not need for the new year. From Start Where You Are by Pema Chodron. We are already everything we need. There is no need for self-improvement. All these trips that we lay on ourselves, the heavy-duty fearing that we are bad and hoping that we are good, the identities that we so dearly cling to, the rage, the jealousy, and the addictions of all kinds, never touch our basic wealth. They are like clouds that temporarily block the sun. But all the time, our warmth and brilliance are right here. This is who we really are. We are one eye blink away from being fully awake. Looking at ourselves this way is very different from our usual habit. From this perspective, we don't need to change. You can feel as wretched as you like, and you're still a good candidate for enlightenment. You can feel like the world's most hopeless basket case, but that feeling is your wealth, not something to be thrown out or improved upon. There's a richness to all the smelly stuff that we so dislike and so little desire. The delightful things, what we love so dearly about ourselves, the places in which we feel some sense of pride or inspiration, these are also our wealth.
When I worked as a public school teacher, I battled with copiers a lot of the time. And I promise this relates, bear with me. They struggled most when everyone really needed them to work correctly. Right around finals time, 5 minutes before your next class started, right? One day, as I was struggling to find the tiny scrap of paper somewhere in this gargantuan machine that was making it not work, a switch flipped in my brain. I was getting angrier and angrier, but I think I may have at that point just been too tired to be angry anymore. For whatever the reason, I stopped cursing the copier out and I said, "You know what, copier? You are having a really hard day. And so am I. So let's see if I can make your day a little bit easier, and hopefully you can do the same for me." And I will admit, I petted the copier very gently, said some nice things to it. Now, this really didn't do much of anything for the copier. It turns out they are incapable of compassion. But it really helped me. It helped me relax enough that I could have a new perspective on the problem. It put me into that helping mode instead of the angry fight or flight mode. And, I got the copier working again. I think I managed to get myself to a more rational place where I could think about it from the copier's point of view. And honestly, I may not have dealt with this situation any faster than I would have if I had been full of frustration, but I felt a lot better about that experience than I would have if I had been full of frustration. And I learned to do something similar in a more serious vein when I read a book called The Happiness Trap by Russ Harris. At my therapist's recommendation, it is a guidebook. I see nods. It is a guidebook to acceptance and commitment therapy, which is a specific kind of behavioral treatment. And in it, Harris suggests a process called acceptance imagery, where we observe what's happening in our body with the ultimate goal of accepting it. It can be like pain, it can be anxiety, it can be lots of things, whatever is happening in our bodies. So I tried out this idea of noticing my anxiety. I have a lot of anxiety. It stresses me out, and then it stresses me out that I'm stressing out, and then it stresses me out that I can't stop stressing out, so you can see where this is going. And it is, as Pema Chodron would call it, the stuff I so dislike and so little desire. But it's also my wealth, right? As much as I don't want it to be, as much as I would like it to just go away, it makes me alert to problems that others might not see. The problem isn't that it's useless or solely harmful. The problem is that my mind goes to this anxious place when it's not actually helpful for me to do so. So I was working on observing my anxiety, and I went a little overboard, and I started imagining, like, okay, if I had my anxiety over for tea, I think I was getting anxious about accepting it, so I was like overcompensating. But I was like, what if I welcomed it to my home? I would make sure the house was warm and reasonably clean. I would light a fire in the fireplace. I would set the table for two. I would bake cookies for my anxiety. I would get out the mugs with the funny sayings on them so that we would have something to talk about. At the end of all this imagining, I felt a lot less anxious, partially because I thought it was pretty funny. But I realized that I had mentally been trying to kick my anxiety out of the house, which I could never reasonably do. Rejecting it actually only made me hold on to it more tightly. And by welcoming it in and preparing it a place, it could actually set it down once in a while. And looking back on it, I think that it helped me because I was extending love to my own anxiety, which meant I was extending love to myself, right? Just like when I was talking to the copier, I wasn't really comforting the copier. I was comforting myself. I was forgiving myself for not being perfect all of the time, for not being able to solve or avoid every problem. I was beginning again in love, which is a phrase that I've really been wrestling with recently. You see, the litany that we sang earlier about beginning again in love has been one of my favorite hymns for years. We forgive ourselves and each other, and we begin again in love. And I've been pondering this year, what does it look like to begin again in love? It sounds like a really great idea. I mean, we would all agree with that hymn, but it also sounds really hard to actually do. It's more than just being kind to myself when I can't get the copier to work. It's more than accepting my own anxiety. There are problems in this world that need solving that are more complex and deeper than the examples I gave from my own life. There are situations that question whether forgiveness is possible or even appropriate. And my instinct is that these are the exact situations in which love can be the most powerful. But I realize I don't have a lot of concrete evidence to support this instinct. In fact, I'm not sure that I can even define love very well. Is it forgiveness? Is it patience? Is it care? Is it romance? So like a good little human studies major, I read a book. Feminist scholar Bell Hooks writes about this exact problem in her book, All About Love. And in the process of researching this book, right, she read countless works of philosophy and psychology, and she spent, and I quote, years searching for a meaningful definition of the word love. She was deeply relieved when she finally found one in psychiatrist M. Scott Peck's classic self-help book, The Road Less Traveled. She says, first published in 1978, echoing the work of Erich Fromm, he defines love as the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. You weren't expecting that, were you? I wasn't expecting that, spiritual growth. The will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. I am still meditating on this definition, on working out its full meaning, but what I appreciate about it is how it focuses on a really deep end goal, spiritual growth for ourselves and others. This definition incorporates some very important actions under the umbrella of love, like asking for forgiveness, explaining how we have been hurt, learning to accept the parts of ourselves that we don't like, but that we need. And it also undermines some abusive claims that causing harm is excused or caused even by feelings of love. In fact, Bell Hooks goes on to say that love is not a feeling. From a psychological perspective, we often consider love to be a feeling, like being deeply drawn to someone or experiencing sympathy or empathy for their emotions. And that's what I was expecting in the definition of love. But there are other words for this in psychology. Love, instead, is an action, is a behavior. We can choose to love each other or not. Love is an act of will. It's not getting upset when something bad happens to a loved one. Love is how we respond to the situation. And then, because she hadn't done enough upending everything I thought I knew about my life, Bell Hooks sets out 6 elements of love or loving action. She writes that when we are loving, we openly and honestly express care, affection, responsibility, respect, commitment, and trust. Having this definition is essential if we hope to act lovingly with each other, and yet we are rarely taught a useful definition of love, let alone clearly taught how to act lovingly. In a nation in which how-to classes exist for self-defense, outright violence, many perspectives on sexuality, and where almost every song on the radio seems to be about some element of love, usually a toxic one, right? Bell Hooks writes, "Schools for love do not exist. Everyone assumes we will know how to love instinctively." And I wonder what the world would be like if each of us grew up being taught that love is an act of will, something we choose to do in order to further our own spiritual growth and other people's, something we do to be more fully ourselves, more in tune with who we are and in sync with the people around us. I wonder what the world would be like if we had learned less about the horrors of war and prejudice and more about a definition of love. If we spend time discussing what open and honest communication is, how we can care for each other, how that looks different for each person, how we can show affection and respect in ways that other people understand, how we can make and keep commitments to each other, how we can earn and offer trust. I believe that is a world we could build together, and that it would be worth the struggle to create it. And so this year, I am asking myself, how do I care for myself? Am I honest with myself? What parts of myself can I love more fully so that I can stop struggling with them and let them go? How do I show trust in my community? How do I commit to it? And I invite you to join me in this meditation on love, because it matters if we can define love clearly. If we can identify it when it's happening. If there is one thing I would wish for myself and my community, this world, it is a more loving year than the one that came before. And as Bell Hooks writes, what we cannot imagine, we cannot call into being. A good definition marks our starting point and lets us know where we want to end up. As we move forward toward our destination, we chart the journey, creating a map. We need a map to guide us on our journey to love, starting with the place where we know what we mean when we speak of it.
During the next reading and following chant, we invite you to visualize what you want to accomplish in the coming year. Learning a new skill, dedicating your talents to a passion or a dream, renewing a friendship, supporting a loved one, building a community, creating a work of art. Then, share the energy of your envisioned passions for the upcoming year by passing the candle flame to your neighbor. Feel our joined dreams surround us as we are encircled by the flames of our commitment. When passing your flame, please bring the unlit candle to the lit candle to minimize the dripping. And when the chant is over, you may carefully blow out your candle. When a fire burns, it simultaneously destroys and creates. The wood or paper is consumed and can never be reformed again from its ashes. But this destruction is necessary to create light and heat. Light to show us the many paths, heat to warm a home, to melt metal so that it can be molded, to melt glass so that we can shape it. Our lives are a roaring fire, continuously consuming our past and present to fuel our visions of the future. What will you dream today? What will you find the courage to do? We are rising up
like a phoenix from the fire. Brothers and sisters, spread your wings and fly. We are rising up like the phoenix from the fire. Brothers and sisters, spread your wings and fly. We are rising up. We are rising up. We are rising up. We are rising up. We are rising up like the phoenix from the fire. Brothers and sisters, spread your wings and fly. We are rising up like the phoenix from the fire. Brothers and sisters, spread your wings and fly. We are rising up. We are rising up. We are rising up. We are rising up. We are rising up like the phoenix from the fire. Brothers and sisters, spread your wings and fly. We are rising up like the phoenix from the fire. Brothers and sisters, spread your wings and fly. We are rising up. We are rising up. We are rising up. We are rising up.
I invite you to focus your mind on your intention, the passion, dream, or future that your candle symbolizes. We will now extinguish these candles, but not their vitality. May the spirit they represent warm and light our journeys. May we walk together, our hearts lighted by this inner flame. Thank you. Please hold on to your candle. When you leave at the end of the service, place it in the baskets the stewards will have. In the words of the pagan tradition, our circle is now open, yet unbroken. Please rise as you're willing and able, and join me in singing hymn number 1028, The Fire of Commitment.
When
The element of fire represents passion, veracity, authenticity, and vitality. If the chalice is the supporting structure of Unitarian Universalism, then we are the flame. We are the flame fanned strong by our passion for freedom, our yearning for truth-telling, our daring to be authentic with one another, and the vitality we sustain in our meeting together. In all of this, there is love. May we carry this flame, this love with us into our lives this year and into the community around us.
Please join with me as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish the light of this chalice, but not the light in our hearts. Until we meet again, may the warmth of our community carry you.